Aloha everybody, Kaiwaza with you. Welcome back to my channel, and today is a what do you call it, response tag video, something like a response to Wax Ecstatic, whose channel I will link below. You can go check his channel out, but he is asking the question, if you had an opportunity to hear a record again as if for the first time, right? Which record would you choose? You know, in other words, probably a record that was impactful for you, that you've played 600 million thousand times since then, and now you know how it is, you hear something so much and it's not going to impact you in the same way, or it's not, you know, your ideas and things might change. So for me, there's a lot of records, if I could hear them as I heard them the first time, I would love to, but there's one in particular that I did think of immediately. This was a Hawaiian record that I was very young when my aunt got it for me. I was probably 8 or 9, I don't know exactly. I was already very into Hawaiian records, living in upstate New York and collecting a lot of Hawaiian records, into it, knew I wanted to live here, whatever. And I saw this record, I do think it was at the Grand Way in Horseheads, New York. I'm not sure, I think that's where I saw it. And we were shopping there, and my aunt who was visiting, my Aunt Betty, she bought it for me. And I don't remember the first time that I played it. I mean, I don't remember. But this is the record right here, Hawaii Beach Party by the Waikikis. And they did tell a little bit about this group here. They said it's the third American album by the Waikikis. I guess it doesn't say on this record, but they're actually from Belgium. The group was like a studio band that recorded a whole bunch of records. They had a hit with Hawaii Tattoo. That was their first album. I didn't know about it at the time, I mean, really, but this was the only thing I knew, was this record. I loved the cover. I still love the cover. I just thought, oh, the blue is so pretty and she's really pretty and I love it. And it says on the back, the cover, as a kid, the things you think. Cover photo, Guy Fong, right? I thought it was like a misprint and it was Gail Fong. And I thought all through my childhood, like, this was Gail Fong. I don't know. But this record, like, and now, years later, you know, I look at this record and I think, I wonder if this album cover was kind of a takeoff on a record album that was like a million seller a couple of years before it, several years before it. If they didn't refer back to this Billy Vaughn Blue Hawaii album, which was a nationally and internationally bestseller, and there were big hits on it. I mean, they were good, you know, Blue Hawaii for Billy Vaughn was a big hit. I don't know, you know, but I thought I see a little similarity with this now, the blue or whatever, and thinking, I wonder if they, I don't know, I have no idea. But anyway, I fell in love with this group from this album, and would get, consequently, even as a child, any record I could find of theirs, I would badger my parents or whoever to get it for me until there was no end. Waikikis had to have it. Love them. Very SpongeBob SquarePants. Nothing authentic about it, you know. But just to me, their music became, in my mind, growing up, the image of what Honolulu would be like, and living in this cosmopolitan, shining city in the middle of the Pacific Ocean that was this very exotic place. But very modern, because the music it was very 1960s sounding. Particularly one song on here became like, for real, like my theme song my entirety of growing up. I wore this song, literally wore it out, like made skips and scratches in it, and literally wore this song out. And I'm kind of embarrassed even to play it, because now I think, ooh, it's kind of like obnoxious. My parents must have gotten like so tired of me playing it because it's sort of an obnoxious song, but I loved it as a kid. It's called Waikiki Parade. I just loved it. Now, years later, I would when I replaced it, I discovered that the original one I had, I mean, you don't think about these things when you're a kid, was mono. And when I got a replacement decades later, it was stereo. And it is one of those fairly rare cases to me where there's a real difference between the stereo version of the record and the mono version, because there's some things in the stereo version that are completely lacking, completely missing in the mono. Like, it's just not there. Certain instruments, certain vocal part, it's not there on the mono, and it is in the stereo. So I actually kind of prefer the mono version because that's what I grew up with, but on this record. But it's interesting, there are some differences. And the songs now, I mean, the songs that I loved as a kid, you know, were all the more upbeat ones. The Hawaii Beach Party, Hawaiian Fair, you know, Waikiki Hula Hoo. Loved that song. I still kind of like that song growing up. And the slower ones I was not as enamored of. But again, through the years and through time now, I kind of really prefer the slower songs. I think are really beautiful, somewhat simple, but really beautiful compositions and performances. It's interesting also how that can change with time, right? Eventually, I did get, because this has been released in different countries and with different covers and whatever, I did pick up this copy that I had seen several times that I thought, I like this cover. I don't normally get a record just for the cover, but this was also mono, so I thought, I can get a cover that I've been sort of looking at, and I can get it in mono, so I'll have the stereo and the mono version. So this was an Argentinian release, but of the same record, but I love the cover on it. Yeah, I mean, the album was magic when I was a kid. I mean, it was magical, mystical, wonderful, exciting. Of course, listening to it through the decades. I'll admit, sometimes if I'm playing it on my, iPod or something, or I'm out and I hear it on the Hawaiian radio station that I have, it does sort of get your blood pumping a little bit, like, ooh, there's the mountains and the palm tree and the blue sky and I'm in Hawaii. Like, yeah, this record still kind of does it for me, but I would love to hear it again as if I'd never heard it. And I'd be curious to see as an adult what my impressions of it would be. I mean, who would know that maybe I wouldn't even like the record at all as an adult? I mean, I find that kind of unlikely, but who knows, you know? And as fate would have it, this group, I ended up collecting everything I could by them, and they did more than a dozen studio albums, and I love them to death, you know? To this day, I love the Waikikis. So yeah, I would love to hear this one again. Amongst others, but that one in particular. So yeah, thanks for the challenge. It's an interesting idea. I'm curious to see what other people will respond with, what record they would love to hear with pure, clean ears again, as if they'd never heard it. So thanks for watching, and subscribe if you want to see more. And again, check out Ecstatic's channel. I'll link it down below. Thank you guys. Have a good day.